Because of their professionalism, soldiers are accustomed to shouldering responsibilities. This became evident for one soldier who found himself approached by a baby moose while in the woods. What unfolds next is truly shocking. A soldier named Eric Jiri Priko and his friends from the Estonian military got moved to a new base. It was in a different spot from where they usually worked, near Lake Vortserv. Every year, Estonia has a military practice called SEAL, which has been happening since 1991 when Estonia became independent. In 2018, it was called SEAL 2018 because they were mainly practicing. Eric was surprised when he saw something unusual while working. In the forest, other soldiers were busy doing exercises. Eric was working hard too, but it was a hot day and he needed a bathroom break. He didn't expect what happened next. As Eric walked further into the woods, he heard a faint sound, like an animal crying. He wondered if it might be a cat or a small baby. Feeling both worried and curious, Eric decided to stay where he was. The cries seemed to grow louder. Eventually, a creature emerged from the trees. At first, Eric thought it was a dog because of its size. Even though he couldn't tell exactly what it was, he still found it cute. As the creature got closer, Eric noticed it was actually a baby moose. The calf seemed to be trying to communicate something, and Eric could tell it was feeling anxious. Looking around, Eric grew a little worried when he realized that the baby moose was alone. This soldier had a soft spot for animals, and the last thing he wanted to do at that moment was scare it away. Very slowly, he lowered himself to the ground. Hopefully, he wouldn't look threatening in a sitting position. The baby moose was looking at Eric from behind a leafy bush. Eric's tactic appeared to have worked, since the little calf soon moved away from the bush and closer to where he was sitting. Suddenly, it stopped. It was as if it was taking Eric in, trying to assess if he was a good person to approach. It didn't take long for the baby moose to make its decision, and soon Eric felt the lonely animal nuzzle him. The soldier finally understood why the baby was crying and why it had gone looking for someone's help. It was hungry. Even though Eric wanted to feed the calf, he had no way of doing so. What the baby moose really needed was its mother. With that thought in mind, Eric swiftly searched the area. He tried his hardest, wandering high and low within the woods, yet Eric found no trace of a mother moose. Feeling a little dispirited, Eric came up with a backup plan. He would find the local vet and ask for their help. Not only was the baby moose alone and vulnerable to dangers, but it had come to him for help. Surely their paths had crossed for a reason, and now Eric felt like he had to fulfill his duty of protecting others as every soldier should. The vet offered him some of the most useful advice they could come up with. It was probably for the best that the baby moose should stay in the spot where Eric had found it, in the slightest chance that the calf's mother would be searching for her baby. That area in the woods should be undisturbed to make the search easier. Although it wasn't a perfect plan, it was all they had for that moment. The vet promised Eric that they would contact someone so that the calf could receive some more help. Eric and the baby moose returned to the same spot where they had first met. After some time had passed, the person whom the vet had contacted came along to the scene. Fortunately for the calf, that person carried a very valuable object, a bottle of milk. After hours of hunger, the baby moose was finally fed. Although this solved one problem, the bigger one loomed over Eric's head like rain clouds. What was he going to do with the calf? It was still missing its mother. Even though leaving it in the woods was part of the plan, Eric found himself unable to abandon the baby animal. The possibility of the calf's mother returning was uncertain, and Eric wasn't willing to take that risk. That night, he and a few other soldiers moved closer to where the baby moose was. Despite most people being asleep, they remained alert and prepared to protect. In the middle of the night, they heard a sound echoing from the woods, a call specifically from an adult moose. Though they didn't react immediately, the next morning, Eric and some soldiers checked the spot where they had left the baby moose, only to find it gone. Upon closer inspection, Eric noticed fresh, large footprints in the ground, indicating that the calf's mother had returned and the little one was no longer alone. Reflecting on the entire experience, Eric felt like he had fulfilled one of his duties as a soldier. I really wanted the calf's mother to find him, and I was thrilled when we discovered that they had reunited, he remarked. I'd do anything for a friend. Specialist Kaden was part of the United States Army. When Kaden was deployed overseas, he met a cat who would go on to develop a deep sense of loyalty to him. At the operations base, Kaden couldn't help but notice how a small feline would visit the area regularly. There was a spot which it was particularly fond of, the top of a pile of pallets. The cat would sit and observe everyone. However, the cat was incredibly shy. Whenever a person approached it, or even got just a little bit too close, it would run away, terrified. Nevertheless, Kaden was intrigued by this little animal. One day, he decided to go up to the cat and sit down beside it. In spite of its habit of running away from everyone else, it appeared to see something different in Kaden. He noticed that she was a female cat and gave her the befitting name Tiger. Kaden would make sure to feed Tiger every day, providing her with the care and companionship that she wouldn't have experienced as a stray animal. It was as if all of her fear of humans melted away whenever Kaden was around. She began to visit the base more than usual, so that it became a daily occurrence. Each day, Kaden would look forward to his new furry friend. Soon, Tiger became very friendly and open to physical affection. When Tiger would turn up to the base and see Kaden there, she would run up to him. As well as this, the little cat found a new, comfier resting spot. Instead of the wooden pallets, she would rest on Kaden's shoulders. Suddenly, Tiger became pregnant. She ended up becoming a mother to 3 adorable kittens. Luckily, all of these kittens were adopted, finding a stable home to reside in. However, the same couldn't be said for their mother. Kaden has a family and a home waiting for him back in America, and eventually he has to leave the operations base. While he wants nothing more than to bring Tiger back with him, there are rules that prevent him from doing so. International adoption can be a very tricky process and can also cost a fortune. The thought of Tiger going back to the lifestyle she once had upsets not only Kaden, but all the people who have heard about their story. She wouldn't have solid shelter or anyone to provide for her, so she would have to roam the streets again, by herself, Tiger explained. Tiger and I have become inseparable, and I can't imagine leaving her behind when I live thousands of miles away, Kaden explained. It's heartbreaking to think about Kaden and Tiger being separated, but their story isn't over yet. Kaden is determined not to give up on Tiger. He reached out to a non-profit organization called Paws of War, which specializes in helping veterans bring home the pets they bonded with during wartime. Kaden is hopeful that they can help with his situation. Derek Cartwright, a veteran and stateside logistics coordinator, is doing everything he can to assist Kaden and Tiger. Derek emphasized, Specialist Kaden and Tiger share a strong bond, and now Kaden needs her to safely return home to America. We're committed to making this happen, but we need the public's support to successfully complete the mission. Kaden expressed his gratitude for the help from Paws of War and the community backing the organization. I hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones. Also subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.